Okay, so video, let's see, 1, 2, 3, video 3, numero tres for our friends down in Mexico and other places that speak Spanish natively. This one is regarding primarily the Scangauge. Here's the view. This is from the command center of Stu Dunn. And there she blows. The glorious Scangauge in all of its glory. The purpose of this device is to give you quick feedback. So you're doing something on the road, you want to know how it affects your gas mileage. It provides you the ability to do something, look real time what's happening, and then act on that. Then just sort of catalog it away and have for future reference. Let me give you a quick rundown of what the Scangauge is capable of. This is actually the Scangauge 2, as you can see here. That little 2. I mean, it's a little bit rubbed off because I have been using this now for the better part of 6 years, I would say. I got it pretty shortly after I started hypermiling. So you'll see I've included a couple custom ones on the main gauge. So this is your main display, what you'll see pretty much the majority of time that you drive. First thing that I want to point out here is you press this button, it'll take you to the main area where you can navigate to other spots. Scan looks at your computer function, not really hypermiling related. You can look at error codes. That's been handy from time to time. Then if you see this button here, you have your trip, which will give you different parameterized versions of the data on the computer. And it has a little bit of memory in it, so it'll store it for your tank, your current, which will be, since you've turned the vehicle on, and it should reset, if it's off for any period of time, which, at this point I haven't turned it on yet, so everything's zeroed out. But it'll give you today, previous day, as well as tank. And then there's whatever other values in there, hours, RPM max, which distance. So, it's nice to have for some of those different things. Most common cars nowadays will have the computer in it, and so this is really kind of gratuitous at that point, but it does offer you a couple more granular detail on a couple different things that can help you. And now that I have a car that has a digital display with that in it, I really don't use this as much, but it's nice to have for some of the features such as more specific mile per gallon, distance I've traveled on a certain trip, as well as the actual cost it's taking you to travel, because when you select to fill it up, you'll have to input the price of each gallon. It will do the math for you. Now primarily, when I'm driving, I will actually use just the built-in one here, which will give you the primary stats you're concerned with for daily use. And if you already have a lot of, which I feel like I already have a lot of the habits ingrained that I would like. So on this you'll get, here's your trip. So since I filled up my car, I've gotten 55 miles per gallon. So the main feature here, I can see digitally what the fuel economy is, and that will allow me to get some feedback on how I'm doing. And it has a little, just below the 55 number, it has the gauge that will give you live feedback. So really that replaces a lot of the reason I originally bought this in my Civic, which was the live feedback. And I've noticed that depending on the manufacturer, there can be some discrepancies between what they put on that and what you're actually getting. So always, this is good, because regardless of what the number is, you'll be able to say, okay, I'm doing better or worse, because really you just need it for comparison. If you'd really like to know what the numbers are, the most accurate way to do it would be fill up your car at the same gas station every time, if you can. And if you're commuting, that's pretty easy. And make sure that you note the mileage, and then when you fill up, note the mileage again and note how many gallons you filled up for. Then you just do some simple division, and that'll give you your fuel economy. So these things, kind of minor details, but really good for what I mentioned earlier, which is primarily just feedback toward stuff you're doing and confirming or denying whether it's going to work better for you in your situation.